We had an incredible young team. Yeah, we had like the likes of Götze, Royce, Hummels was even young as well. We had really good young players, I have to say, and still, the older players, the experience.
It's not enough, my guy.
It was crazy. So sometimes we didn't even know what's going on. We felt like, hey, we're playing so well here, but why are we keep losing?
The official Manchester City podcast. Watch the full video version of this show via City Plus now.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the official Man City podcast. I'm your host George Kelsey, joined by Nedum and Onuoha. Nedum,
how are you? All right? I'm tip-top, mate. How are you?
Very good, yeah. Very excited.
It's a big one today. It's good to be invited back. It's been a little while, but I'm here now. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I'm excited about you. And then Ilkay, I suppose, him being there.
Of course. Former club captain. Yeah. So it's good to have him back in Manchester. It's even better to have him on the podcast.
It's amazing. I mean, every new signing is exciting, but when Ilkay you start seeing things come through, and then it got confirmed. I mean, you're like a kid in a sweet shop, aren't you?
Absolutely. I think I'm one of many people who'd love to get the chance to speak to him just in general life. So to be able to actually have him for a period of time like this, it's amazing. Like, what a guy.
I know, incredible. But I mean, he's had such an amazing career. He's got a lot more to obviously do, but had an incredible career here, but also earlier at Dortmund and at Barcelona for a year, Germany before he retired. I mean, it'll be so good to kind of dissect a bit of that and learn more from him.
Yeah, and the thing is, you're right, there's so much to learn because we can read about him, see his Wikipedia, all that stuff, but when the story's told by the person themselves, there's an added level of sincerity to it. There's detail which you never would have even thought about. Like with myself, lots of other players, people always see the upside, but they don't see the sort of downsides of, say, their lives, careers, and what sort of makes them who they are. But it's the beauty of this podcast and the beauty of some of the people that are on it. Like, you learn so much every time someone starts speaking.
Oh, it's going to be about her. Can't wait.
Like always.
Like always. Well, let's get into it. Ilkay Gundogan on the official Man City podcast.
The last time these two met here in the competition, Man City have scored already. The ball into the box, and Ilkay Gundogan tucks it in.
Ilkay, thanks so much for joining us on the official Man City podcast. I know Nedum and I are really looking forward to this one.
Thanks for having me.
No, you're welcome. I really enjoyed doing a bit of like research and background on you because it just meant I could look through all of your amazing goals while you were at City in particular. Just wanted to start off the bat. Do you have a favourite from your time so far at the club?
Actually, a couple of people have asked me that the last 2-3 weeks.
Oh,
probably.
really?
Yeah. And obviously there may be one or two obvious ones. I think the most obvious one is the FA Cup final volley after 12 or 13 seconds. I don't know. Which was a quite special goal, I have to say. I also really like, in terms of technique and difficulty, I really like the one Everton also in the treble.
Oh, the bicycle kick.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a bicycle kick.
Why did you shoot? Why did you do that?
I don't know. I just felt it's on, and it was more like, the ball coming into a crowd of, 5-6 people, and there were like 2-3 opponents around me, and I didn't have much time to control and finish, but then also the control had to be on point with the thigh, and then being with the back towards the goal. I just thought it was, in terms of technique and in terms of timing and precision, I feel like it was a difficult one, and I have to say it's a goal that I really enjoy watching back as well.
See, do you know he said that? So do you search for your goals?
Not that much to be honest. The last time I did it was when I was with my little one, and he loves, seeing me on the TV, playing football or in general football, and I just wanted to see his reaction, so I put a couple of goals, on YouTube and let him watch it, which was quite funny. That was probably the last time I've seen it.
Okay. Yeah, lay down a marker early with him. It's like, this is what you've got to do.
Try to teach them early. I would love him to play football, obviously, and he's enjoying it so far. So hopefully that continues.
Yeah, that Everton game in particular, I remember obviously towards the end of the season, and it had been quite a tough game, hadn't it, so far? So I suppose when you score a goal like that, the goal itself is ridiculous anyway, as you've said, but the context of the game must have made it even more special.
Yeah, I think Goodison Park is in general a very tough place to go. Tight stadium, the crowd really close to the pitch, and always, the way Everton also used to play. I don't know if they might have changed a little bit now, but a lot of long balls, aggressive, physically, strong always. And then obviously towards the end of the season, when it's always a crucial game, you have to win it, and people maybe underestimate that sometimes. And it's a quite tough place to go, to be honest with you. And obviously, getting that first goal is always important, but especially in such a atmosphere, even more probably. And I feel like also with that goal, that was a really good opener for us into the game, because Erling scored, I think, quite quickly. Then also in the first half, the second one, and then when I scored the third one in the second half, it was game over. But obviously during that stage of the season, it's always every game is crucial, and always when you score the first one, it makes, especially for a team like us, it makes things much easier, and it's opening up the game more, because the opponent has to come out as well, has to do something, has to try something to get something out of the game. Otherwise, when it's 0-0, the longer the game goes on, the better for the opponent, and the more defensive it's going to be, maybe similar to the Arsenal game, last weekend. So that can be also very tricky.
Yeah, we'll chat about the Arsenal game a little bit later, but I just wanted to talk to you about how you found your time back here, because it's been about a month now since you rejoined the club. I don't know how have you found that month so far and moving forward?
Very enjoyable, quite easy also, to get kind of reintroduced, into the club. Obviously, still a lot of faces that I am very familiar with. A couple of new faces, but in general, I'm enjoying the energy that I get from the team. I'm enjoying the banter. I'm enjoying to be with the teammates, inside the dressing room, have laughs, and have jokes flying around, and being with the staff. So I've missed a lot of people, in the last year, and being back now just feels like being back home. And also the way that everything just went, in the last months, very smooth and very easy for myself. Just I think shows also me that it was an amazing step for me, to get back into that club.
Yeah. It's probably the ultimate summer signing, wasn't it? Player of Ilkay's quality.
Former captain on a free transfer.
Yeah,
it seems like a good deal. And are you ready for the Mancunian winter as well? You ready for the rain, all that stuff?
I'm ready for it. I'm up for it.
Okay.
Even things like that, you start to appreciate when you don't have it anymore.
Liquid sunshine.
So I'm really looking forward to it. Looking forward to enjoying it. To be back. I'm enjoying to play football on such a high level and high standard. With incredible players and incredible management. And I'm just again looking forward for competing, in all these different competitions.
Yeah, it's only been obviously 12 months from your first spell and your second spell, but as you've said, there have been a few changes. What have you maybe noticed in terms of the players or the approach to things? How have things changed between spell 1 and spell 2 for you?
Obviously, there's always, with Pep, with the type of play, there's always, every season, also in the past, seemed a bit like, like a couple of small details in terms of adapting, and approach, because I think Pep is someone that wants to, wants the opponents not to get to reach you 100%, every single season, and always tries to adapt a couple of things, also in terms of quality of the players, so everyone can put his own strengths in the best possible way on the pitch and can contribute, in the best possible way as well. So I think that's why he's also the best manager in the world, because he sees things that others maybe don't see, and he can transmit that, onto the pitch in the best possible way. So there's always, or there was always a slight change, and even probably if you ask players this season compared to last season, when I was not here, if you ask players who were here, there's probably also, again, another change, in small details. So I'm kind of used to it, that there was always something that he was adapting. So there's not really a surprise for me.
Yeah.
But obviously, especially the players that you haven't played so far with, the players that just joined last year, when I left, you kind of want to create a connection with these players, because it's easier with the ones that you already knew and that you have played a lot of games with, but with the players like Matteo, like Joshko, like Mateusz, the players that I haven't played with, you want to know how they move, how they behave in certain situations on the pitch, and what actions they favor, you know, what movements they favor, because I like to see it, you know, and analyze it a little bit and adapt my own movement to them, you know, in the best possible way, so you can help each other, you know, and you can kind of make each other better, you know, and contribute to each other's style of play. So that's something obviously that is not there from day one. It's something that you get by playing and training more with each other. And yeah, I think it's going well so far, and can still get better, and I'm sure it will get better also in the future.
As a more experienced player, you spoke there about the manager. Do you think his biggest asset is his ability to create an idea, or his ability to coach the idea into the players?
It's probably both, to be honest with you, because I think a lot of people have really good ideas, and then maybe struggle a little bit, you know, to kind of bring it to the pitch, you know, and show it in the best possible way on the pitch. I think it's a mix of you know, analyzing the games of the opponents with his coaching staff, then showing obviously the images to the team, you know, and giving maybe also an alternative in case that doesn't happen. That is another opportunity, you know, that is likely to happen. And then obviously going on the pitch, either in training sessions or in the game, then being able, you know, to adapt also to actually what is there, you know, because obviously you prepare sometimes a game, and then in the game actually things are slightly different. So you either have to try to let your players know during the first minutes, during the first half, or you either warn them before, or you let them know directly on the pitch, or you try to make an impact, you know, half-time latest. And I think he has everything, you know. He can contribute in every different aspect. But obviously, the more he coaches you, the more you learn also, you know, about the game in general, about the different concepts that can expect you. And sometimes, obviously, also you have to take responsibility yourself as a player, and have to see, you know, actually when you go on the pitch, okay, in the first couple of minutes, how is the opponent shaping, you know, which formation they're playing, or where is which player, you know. So you kind of have to read it also a little bit yourself, because that is the standard, obviously, that Pep is also expecting from his players.
I suppose with that as well, as you've said, that there's only so much you can kind of prepare for before a game, and then you have to have that adaptation. When you come to that with like having that certain conviction as a player, is that something that you can also take from Pep in terms of identifying patterns with teams, or does a lot of it kind of just come from almost a gut instinct, or players sort of saying, I've spotted this, right, let's come together?
Well, I guess everyone's a little bit different. Me, I'm someone, and sometimes in football they say, which I found sometimes true but also a little bit weird, sometimes people say, you know, the less you think on the pitch, the better you play, you know, the more free you play, which makes sense sometimes actually. But in my case, I'm generally someone that thinks a lot, obviously. You know, I still think it works in my favor, because it's just my nature, you know, and it's just that I try to deal with what is facing me, you know, in that certain situation. So I'm observing, you know, and I'm analyzing, and I am thinking about things. So I have to do that for myself. Otherwise, I might feel a bit lost, you know, also on the pitch. So I want to be aware of the things that are going around me. And because maybe also I play such a central position, you know, in midfield, with always players around me, you know, always opponents especially around me, I don't have much time to think. So I have to know already before I get the ball. I need to know, okay, where are my opponents? Where are my teammates? You know, how can I make my action contribute to the team in the best possible way? How can I make life and things easy for my teammate that is next to me, you know, or that I give the next pass to? So obviously a lot of things going on in the head, you know, and that's what I mean when I say that Pep is always expecting a very high standard. You know, there's always something that you have to think about, you know, and always things you have to adapt also. So I don't know, it just made me personally better, I feel like, and I really appreciate that. And I just think also it made me learn so many things, you know, so many aspects, different aspects of the game by being coached from Pep.
Yeah. George, in regards to football, there's a point where I think a player hits maybe 30, 31, and everyone from the outside starts to say that they're old, But I found through my career that you become more experienced and you start to understand how the game really works. There's so many little details which maybe you didn't realize when you were younger, yeah. But again, the perception goes the other way. And if I was to tell you, for example, one of my teams in the past, we used to play young versus old every Friday. How many times do you think the youngs would win out of 10 games?
I would have probably said 50-50, but given this story, I'm going to say
No
9-1 to the...
No chance.
You know, we used to do that at Dortmund as well.
Yeah.
Always play the last training session before the game. Always used to play young against old.
And who used to win?
Old.
Always the old.
Really?
Always the old. And it's the thing is, the wording is old. It makes it sound like they're bad, but they understand the game differently.
Yeah.
And I think, as Ilkay will probably tell you, like, he's got maybe one of the best managers in history coaching him. So when you on the field, you're almost seeing a different game. As a young person, you know everything that you know, but you never know enough until you've had the experience. And when you get that experience and you see it,
well,
you can have bigger
I mean,
impacts, can't you?
I don't know if people will like it, but the game changed also a little bit because obviously it's something we love, you know, but on the other side it's also a business right now.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, the young players, you know, they are assets right now to
Yeah.
the football clubs. So they are worth
Yes.
millions and millions of pounds and euros, you know. So obviously they get a lot of attention and focus, which is okay, you know. But I think the people who know or who want to be successful, you know, who want to become and stay successful, they know that, you know, you need experience, you know, in your team. You need that kind of players, you know. And when I say experience, I don't mean always maybe the age, you know, because someone who's 26 or 27 can also be very experienced, you know. And we have a few of the boys also in our team. By experience, I mean, you know, experience of what the manager, you know, is expecting from the team, how to perform, you know, understand his concept, his type and style of game. I think that's something that Pep personally appreciates about me also a lot. Whether I am 33 now or whether I was 28, 29 a few years ago, that doesn't change, you know. And by having more players like that, you obviously help these young assets also to become better, you know, and to become better football players, become bigger assets also for the teams, and have bigger values at the end as well. So it's kind of a mix, you know. But in modern football, obviously, people sometimes maybe don't give so much attention to that. But that's something that you personally, you know, need to easily be able to accept that, you know. And for me, that's no problem at all. So don't take yourself too important, you know. Just do your thing.
Yeah.
Because I mean, experience on that front, Phil Foden fits into that category, doesn't he? He's been at the club for years, knows the concepts.
Exactly.
The main thing I've taken from this conversation, though, is that I'm 28, so you're saying I've still got a chance. 3-4 years down the line, I might suddenly peak.
We'll have to check the video on that. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that's what I said, but maybe.
Well, I mean, finishing second in the 4th division of under-16s in Nottingham.
Listen, first would be better, but second's okay as well.
I'm humble.
Yeah.
Where did you play under 16s?
Oh, no, literally.
You see now. Don't get embarrassed now. Bless you.
The Dog and Duck, the pub down the road. Just out of interest, before we move on, I'm thinking about that young v old Dortmund game. Some of the players that would have been playing in that. Who I assume you would have been in the young team at the time.
Yes.
Who would you have had with you?
We had an incredible young team. Yeah, we had like the likes of Götze, Royce, Hummels was even young as well. So we had really good young players, I have to say, and still, you know, the older players, the experience.
It's not enough, my guy.
It was crazy. So and sometimes we didn't even know what's going on. You know, we felt like, hey, we're playing so well here, but why are we keep losing? But it is what it is. It is what it is.
Who would have been in the other team then?
In the older ones, we had players like Sebastian Kehl, Roman Weidenfeller, the goalkeeper, Blaszczykowski, Piszczek, the Polish guys.
Lars and Sven, would they have
We had Lewandowski also young,
Lewandowski,
most of the time,
course,
in the young team. Sven was also in the younger team.
Was he?
Sven Bender,
Right.
So yeah, if you was just looking at the names, we have incredible talent, but
it's not enough.
Couldn't back it up.
It's not enough.
Speaking of young talent, Caden Braithwaite made his senior debut. He was only 16. I mean, how do you think he got on? And I mean, what was it like for him as a young lad making his debut?
No, I think it's amazing. I mean, let's be honest, it also became a little bit kind of the identity, of this club in the last few years, to give these kind of talents, the best talents in the club, also the opportunity to prove themselves in such competitions. And if you look at the history now of the last few years, what this club produced in terms of talent, and if you look at in the Premier League or even other leagues, how many players coming out from the Man City Academy, I think it's an incredible number, and that is something that is not granted, to be honest. That's something that you need to put a lot of effort, and you need to put a lot of work into it from a young age, find this talent, and give them the right education and training opportunities, coaches, and I have been in the under 16s team for a few sessions, a couple of years ago when I did my coaching badge, and I had the opportunity to join them, and to see the whole process, to speak with the coaches over there, and it's on a very high standard, and that's something that you probably don't find in a lot of other European big teams, again, it's great to see these young boys doing really well and giving them the opportunity. And I think they're also now speaking about assets, big assets, for this amazing club.
From your time when you were looking at the under-16s, and also when young lads have kind of come up and trained with the first team, same question to you, to be fair, Nedum. Is there anything that you kind of look out for in particular from a young lad or young girl who's coming through thinking, that's maybe it's something that they do technically, or it's their mindset, their approach to things? Is there anything that you look out for and think, yeah, that's a really good thing to have at your age that's going to help you make a career out of it?
It's a bit a difficult one for me, to be honest with you. I have to be that honest, because I don't know, to determine, the path of a young player. I personally struggled. I don't think this is a big strength point of myself. I struggle a little bit with it, judging from, I don't know, when they are 13, 14, 15, or maybe even 16 maybe is a little bit easier, because then they are quite close to the first team, and then you can see the technical abilities, whatever. But I still believe that even in that age, you can still coach them, in so many aspects, that you can improve them, in so many ways. But for me, it's not that easy. I love players, obviously, who use their mind, their brain a lot, on the pitch, and observe a lot, and adapt. Because I'm someone like that. Yeah. So I can judge if someone does that. But does it automatically mean if someone is good in that he will go far? I doubt it, because there's much more to it than just this. So again, I have to admit that I am probably not the best in that. But thankfully we have in the club an amazing system, with amazing people who obviously search and find all these young talent, and they can see it, and they bring them up, and they just grow, into these amazing players.
Yeah, and players develop at different speeds as well, don't they?
For me, the different parts to this, to be honest, because I made my debut in 2004, and at that time football was a little bit different, so the emphasis on younger players wasn't necessarily there at that time, and you could say that realistically it was probably a bit hostile towards young players when they arrived, because it was more perceived that somebody's going to try and take my position, as opposed to somebody's here as the collective. As I retired in 2020, as Ilkay was saying, like, there's a big emphasis on young assets, young talent, and so they are the point of emphasis. And the way that I used to see it was, if a young player comes to train with the first team, they're there for a reason. They've shown something. And then as you watch them train, you can see the ones who are technically good, but then you wonder, how are they going to adapt to this environment? What is it that sort of drives them? Are they doing the correct things fundamentally right? Because they'll always make mistakes. Like, a young person will make mistakes because they don't know it's a mistake until you sometimes tell them. But what is their sort of attitude in that space? Are they trying to do things the right way? Are they asking questions? Can you approach them? Or do they think that, this is, they deserve, like, if someone that comes in and says, I should be here anyway, it's like...
I also remember, I remember when I used to train with the first team for the first couple of times, and that was back in 2008 or 9, with Nuremberg, after signing my first professional contract. The older experienced players, they used to smash the young players, and also the same they did with me. When you compare to today, it's not at all, you know. Even here, I think the last one here that used to do that was Vincent Kompany. But I remember having the stats, you know, on and being very harsh, you know, on the younger players. And honestly, it was good. It was really good. I really enjoyed it, you know, when I was young, because they were tough on me, you know, and they taught me directly, you know, how things go.
Yeah.
And it's kind of also an education, you know. It's not just the footballing aspect. It's also, you know, an education as a character, you know, to grow and to prove yourself, you know, to make a point, to stay humble also, you know, because back then we also had other young players, and honestly, maybe some of them even more talented than me, but they were not tough enough, or they had a little bit of arrogance, you know. Or they didn't want to put in the work, you know, and when the older players tried to, you know, be a bit hard on them, they didn't understand the world and they couldn't deal with it. So it was for me personally, it was a really good education, to be honest with you.
That's good, because all the people who come through academies all around the world, like, they are now trained in the first team because they're one of the best in their age group. But some of the people who are the best in their age group, they get told that for 5, 6, 7 years. And it's like easy for them, so they don't even try. But as soon as you go into like the pro level, like this is serious, if you know what I mean. And for some, you very quickly realize that maybe it's not for them, which is fine, because football isn't necessarily going to be for everybody. But they enter that realm, and all of a sudden training is really physical. There's the emotion of the last result. There's the emotion of the game that's to come. You're going to be playing in stadiums with tens of thousands of people watching you. People are saying things to you online. All of a sudden, you're not just the star for doing the 17s. You're playing with people who've played for 5, 6, 7, even longer years. And if you're going to affect them in a negative way, they're probably not going to be, oh, it's okay, don't worry, it's fine. It's fine. It's like, no, this is my profession. This is what we do. And as I say, if the environment's there and you do need to be tough on them to a certain extent, the best ones will always find their way, whatever the level is, in my opinion.
Because you're not going to have it your own way all the time, are you? And even at the top level, when you're playing, the opposition aren't going to let you do what you want to do.
It would be nice if they did.
It'd be great, wouldn't it?
No, it's good also, because otherwise you would be spoiled, you know. If it's always your way, you just know it one way, you know. And once there's a little speed bump or whatever, you know, a little bit of difficulty, you're kind of lost, you know. You don't know how to deal with it. To
quote, obviously he's passed now, and rest in peace, to Sven-Göran Eriksson. Yeah, when he was at City and I was here, he used to, I don't know if you've ever done this, Ilkay, but he used to do this thing where every month we would play maybe 6-a-side on a Tuesday and a Thursday, but he always used to mix the teams up. But he had a coach in Hans Backer who always used to keep a track of how many points how many points you got as an individual. Right. So it was never the same team. Yeah, and at the end of the month there was this chart to see where you placed. The people who always finished near the top, they didn't always have the best teams, but they always maximized whichever team that they had. The people at the bottom would have the same opportunity, but every time they were perceived to be in a quote-unquote bad team, they gave up. They just stopped trying altogether. And you start to realize that for some people, like, they do everything they can, no matter what the situation is, whereas for others, it's like, well, they've given me the wrong team, so I'm not going to try. And that response to adversity is where I get a lot of connections with my former teammates, because that's when you need them more than ever. When you're winning week in, week out, at times it can be easy. But now when things are tough, like, who's there with you? Are you on the same page? And at that point, that's when it gets very easy for people to go their separate ways. So adversity is a great way to see who's there for the long haul and who's not.
Where were you on that chart?
Listen, I'll be honest, I won money a few times because we used to have to put money down for it. I was basically just in around the Europa League level.
Oh, okay,
you know
that's
what I mean?
Not bad, yeah.
Not quite Champions League
top
or whatever. I was top 6, mate. Don't you dare say it. Don't you dare say it. I was up there. I'm doing, but there was some funny faces down in the bottom. It's like, it's you again.
Sometimes the best players, they end up also in the bottom. You know, I don't know, because we did that in Barcelona actually last season. We had a similar chart actually.
Okay, so where were you?
I think I was always average. You know, midfield. Like,
must do better.
Just like the centre.
But there were some big names, you know, like bottom. We could find some really big names there.
Exactly. And we always used to do, it's like a ceremony basically at the end of the month. It's like, oh, let's sit down, let's have a look here. And then at number 1, such and such, and here's the money. They come out like, yeah. It was good. Shout out to the person who was really good at that, Stephen Ireland. Yeah. Stephen Ireland was very, very good, yeah. But unfortunately, I was Europa League, but such is life. It's better than being relegated.
Oh, well, you know, if you win the Europa League, you get into the Champions League, don't you?
Very wise, my friend.
It's a route.
Very wise. It's very wise, yes.
You mentioned a while ago about you playing for Nuremberg in your debut, and when we were talking about Caden and his debut, I wanted to ask you about yours. I don't know if you remember it when you were at Nuremberg. And then,
I think I remember,
yeah. I was looking forward, and it said it was last day of the season, and then ended up
second Bundesliga, right?
Yeah, and then got promoted.
The last game, and then we already made it, because in Germany that was the first year, I think, where they introduced the playoff.
Yeah, so
first and second from the second Bundesliga, they go straight up, and the third plays against the 16th from the first, and they play like playoffs. That was the first year I think they introduced that, and I played actually when we already secured the third spot, and we couldn't finish second and couldn't finish fourth anymore. I made my debut for Nuremberg. I think 20 minutes, maybe half an hour against 1860 Munich, I think. Yeah. 1860 Munich. And I was really nervous, obviously, because it was my first professional game. But I really enjoyed it, and I didn't play then in the playoff games. And then we got promoted, and I started actually the first game of the new season in the first Bundesliga against Schalke, I think it was.
Okay. I suppose that kind of what we were just talking about, where you learn almost on the job, and when things aren't going easy, I imagine what better stage for you to learn your game than playing in the top league against the best teams out there and not having it your own way and having to kind of figure it out as you go.
Yeah, of course, but as we said before, when you play and you start, it's kind of easy sometimes, but actually I started the first game, and I think I started a couple of games even after that. But then at one point I was dropped because we didn't do so well, we didn't win, and I got dropped, and then I find myself on the bench, and even for a couple of games I was not even in the squad anymore, so dealing with that is also a part of the process, and obviously there are two ways always you can go, So it was a learning factor for me as well, stay patient then after that, because in the first games everything felt so good, and felt like everything is working towards yourself, and it's easy. But then once you stop playing and you have to prove yourself again, or maybe you're not in form, not good enough in that short amount of time to start, you have to continue, try to do the good things, try to train well, try to stay consistent and believe in yourself, and don't lose the focus. So I had actually a few occasions where that happened. It happened as well when I got transferred from Nuremberg to Dortmund, started the first few games in Dortmund, then I got dropped. I found myself even for again 1 or 2 games not even in the squad, in the first 6 months period of time. Was not a regular starter until January, February, when someone else got injured. Yeah. And then I got my chance, and then I used it, and then I was a regular one, and then we won even the double with Dortmund, my first season. Played the season after a really good Champions League campaign, got into the final, So that was really my year, actually, when you want to say so. But people forget quite quickly. I don't forget it. People forget quickly the first 6 months when I went to Dortmund, and when I was really struggling, actually, to get game time. So it makes you appreciate also the good moments much more, by knowing, and remembering when you were down here, and then remember when you were up here. You kind of have both extremes, and then you kind of again appreciate the good moments much more than when you don't know it, actually.
And when you were down there then, in those bad moments, because everybody has them in their career, what keeps you going? What makes you have the belief that you'll get out of that situation?
Well, I mean, it might sound a little bit weird, but also that you don't have another option at that point, Some people say, no, you believe in yourself and this and that, but sometimes you doubt yourself as well, and I think it's human being. We are all not perfect, we all have weaknesses, and we know about them, so I'm not ignoring them. I try to deal with them, but of course also I doubt myself, and I know when I don't do things well, and I want to do them better, but sometimes it's, I don't know, you're mentally maybe not in the state, to do them well enough, or you keep trying, but it's not working out. But then you have to stay persistent, and you have to stay focused, and you have to keep doing the things, even though maybe not, even maybe they are not working out in your favor. But I strongly believe that if you have good intentions in life, in your profession, but also in your life in general, that sooner or later you will get rewarded. I'm 100% convinced of that. This is how I live my life, and this is also how I hopefully want my child to be. What I will want to teach him, because what goes around comes around. And in life, I believe 100% in that. So I just keep going. I just try to do the things in the best possible way. Always aim for the highest standard. And try to be focused, try to be on my toes, try to help and improve, and take it day by day. And so far in the long term, I always got rewarded, for my actions. And this is also why I strongly believe in the way of living that.
Yeah, talking about persistence paying off. I mean, it seems like a natural time to talk about that Arsenal game that we've had. Now the dust has settled a little bit on that game. How do you sort of assess it, Ilkay? Because you spoke after the game and said it's obviously very raw. You think, yeah, good point, could have done things better here or there or whatever. But how do you feel now that you've kind of had a chance to reflect?
Well, it was an emotional roller coaster, to be honest with you. I mean, do I believe that we should have won that game? 100%. And of course, I was a little bit disappointed that we didn't get the 3 points. But when you see and watch the game and you see we've scored in 90 plus 7 or 8, I don't know, the equalizer, of course you take the points. You don't want them to beat you, especially in your own stadium, and especially with the way they have maybe played. And maybe second half, I think also they didn't have another option, to be honest with you, because not just playing one less man is tough. Playing against us one less man for more than 45 minutes, I think it's just an incredible task, and credit to them. I think they did really well, they defended really well, they were on it, they defended as a team, as a unit, very aggressive, always used their hands, their bodies, to avoid things happening, and did it really well. And we, as you said, we just kept being persistent, and try to do the things, and keep going and get rewarded for it at the end. But on the other side, I wish it would have stayed probably 11 against 11, because I just felt in the first half, obviously, especially in the first 15-20 minutes, but even after they've scored and they had their chances through set pieces. They had another chance after a corner kick, where they didn't score, and they scored shortly, I think, after that. Their second goal after the corner kick. But apart from that, I don't think they had many opportunities in the game in the first half, and we were quite well in it, and I felt like there are a lot of space actually to play at, especially 11 against 11, and I don't know if it would have stayed maybe 11 against 11 for the second half, we might have turned it completely, and might have won it, which you don't know right now.
No, of course,
it's just my general feeling for the first half. But then again, it's something, it's a moment, it's an experience we had to go through, maybe, also in terms of seeing and acknowledging, what is expecting us for this season. And again, it's another experience. It's an experience at the end that turned out well for us in terms of scoring in the last minute. But still, in terms of result, obviously, it's not something that we feel satisfied with, because we didn't get the 3 points at home.
I suppose from an outside perspective, almost putting my fan hat on instead, I think we're looking at this Arsenal and City teams, and it feels like the Liverpool and the City team from 5 or 6 years ago, or going further back, City and United, when United were challenging. As a player, though, is that the kind of thing that, and again, same to you, Nedum, as a player, is that the kind of thing that you try not to think about? You just think of them as a potential team that could challenge for a title, rather than thinking, oh, there's like a looking for them on the fixture list, if that makes sense, just getting on with it and doing your job.
Yeah, I believe that the best thing you can do is always look at yourself. That's truly what I believe. I mean, obviously we are knowing that they played really well in the last 2-3 years, and we're always there, always competing until the end. But as long as we focus on ourselves, and this is what we did in the last few years, and trying to win our games, doing our tasks in the best possible way, I think things always turn out quite well for us, and why change it right now? why change it? I think we have a great team. We have a really good squad that can compete probably in all competition, or maybe should compete in all competitions. And this should be, the set target for us. Obviously, we'll miss now a big player for us, with Rodri being out injured for a bit, which is a big blast for us, obviously. Not just in terms of his quality on the pitch, also in terms of personality and character. But if we have shown something or proven something in the last years, is that we always can deal with these kind of circumstances quite well, and that's now the target, for the future.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about obviously Rodri having a spell on the sidelines, but there's so much quality in the squad. I mean, Mateus Nunes had a really good game against Watford last night. Yourself, Mateo Kovacic, so many options. I suppose, it's a big blow, but it's one that we try not to let us affect us, because the squad is so strong, and the plan is always the same. It's stick to the process and get the points on the board. Yeah,
just trust Pep,
Yeah.
He'll find a solution. And I think he will have a good feeling for the situation. And it's something that, again, he has experienced, throughout the years. And he will know best what to do. And for us players, it's, about showing him that everyone is ready, and making the choice for him as difficult as possible, to put a starting 11 for every game, and then I think we'll be fine, knowing that we are missing a huge player for us.
Did you ever have a moment at any of the clubs you were at, Nedum, where a player that's so important to the systems kind of had to drop out, and you've then all had to adapt, or how have you adapted to it?
For as much as I enjoyed my career, I never played with a potential Ballon d'Or winner, so I can't really say that as such. But then also, like, Guardiola is one of the best minds in football, so everyone will have losses, and you'll try and adapt, and they will be able to adapt. We've seen City adapt for many years. Every year that, say, Guardiola's been here, it's almost looked a bit different at times in terms of how he wants to try and approach a season. So I think this is a good test for him. It's a good test for the players, but it's a remarkable football club. And to go back to your point about, say, the Arsenal games, I think a lot gets made of the Arsenal games from the media side of things, and I think the games against Arsenal, Liverpool, all this stuff matters. But what I would use as a reference, and this is what some talking points forget about, with all due respect, if you beat the bottom half of the table teams twice over, that's 60 points. That's a foundation to win a league title. If you win the games in the head-to-heads at the top, they can make a big difference, because it might feel like a 6-pointer, but without everything else that comes with it, then we can't necessarily rely too much on those games. Prime example, last year, City didn't manage to beat Arsenal, but they won a league title. So I think sometimes, media-wise, if we overemphasise any particular game, we lose the wider context of, like, how long a season is and how tough some of those other games are. And they're obviously very different. The Arsenal game Arsenal down to 10. This, as you said, the collective defending was great, but to find a solution, that's greater, and the game does matter. But ultimately, you still just need to be there by the end, don't you?
Yeah. I'll apologise on behalf of the media then. C-, must try harder.
Oh God, I'm in there as well, so I can't say too much.
It's part of the game.
Yeah, true. I mean, I could speak to you all day, Ilkay, if we had the chance. I'm sure you'd rather not. But I've just wanted to ask before we wrap up, something I've always wondered, whenever we get the chance to speak to a player of, like, your calibre and level, I always want to find out if there's a player that you've played with, but then also one that you've played against that you and other players really appreciate and know how important they are, but maybe don't get the plaudits or the recognition from us lot, essentially.
Oh. I mean, I've played in some amazing teams, and obviously with amazing teams there come amazing players, and I was lucky in my career that with these amazing teams I always won titles as well, and obviously when you win titles, normally all the players they always get the credit that they deserve. So I couldn't point out someone right now that maybe didn't get the credit that he deserved, because at the end I think all of them they got it deservedly, so I don't know, I couldn't mention you one now. Obviously there are a few that you admire maybe a little bit more because the way they play, you see that they play by using their intelligence, I mean, obviously some they are really gifted, by the physical aspects. They have speed, maybe they have pace, they have strength or whatever. But some, they might not have it, maybe like myself as well, and but they have something else, and that's something that goes on here, and you just appreciate these players maybe a little bit more because you kind of yourself see yourself as someone like that. And that's why your thinking also, and your connection also with that type of players is just different about playing the game.
Yeah.
And we had many, here at Man City, obviously. I had some in Barcelona last year that they will, I'm sure, will have a great future. I had players at Borussia Dortmund, that turned out to be amazing players as well. So again, I think sooner or later, these players will get their how do you say?
Recognition.
Yeah.
Recognition. If they stay healthy, and everything goes well.
Yeah.
So I can't really name you one random name right now, to be honest with you.
I did just throw it on you out of nowhere, to be fair.
There's a grenade for you.
Yeah, bang. Have some of that. Just finally, what we always do to end podcasts, we get our guests to leave a question for the next guest without knowing who it is.
Without knowing who it is?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
that's
we don't know either, so that's the beauty of it. But then equally, the last person has done the same. So
someone left a question for me and I have to
Yes.
give a question. Okay.
So you've been left a question by Niall Quinn, former City forward.
Okay.
Have you ever parked somewhere you shouldn't have?
Parked.
Parked your car,
yeah.
I'm going to say
course
yes.
of course I
Of
did.
course, yes.
Many times, actually.
We'll leave it at that, so there's no investigation.
Yeah, let's not say where or when, but yeah.
And yeah, if you can think of a question you'd like to leave somebody, it could be one of your teammates, it could be one of our women's team, it could be a former player, a City fan that has nothing to do with football at all. It's up to
I
you.
have to think about a question right now.
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
I'm so bad in that, honestly.
It doesn't have to be football related, obviously, based off Niall's question as well.
I'll probably say because we don't know if it's someone who's still actively playing. Huh?
No, could be either.
Then maybe just a simple one. What are your plans for your future?
That's a good one.
What are your plans for the future?
I like
Not
that.
bad at all.
Yeah.
Whether it's someone, I don't know,
Yeah.
still playing or in his career, or someone maybe a little bit older or even younger.
And if they
It's
haven't
always
got an
good to know
answer-
what people
Yeah.
aim for, in the future and what they want to achieve, or I don't know how they see themselves.
Yeah. And if they haven't got an answer, it might be the wake-up call they need to get their life
Really think
moving.
about it. Really think about it. Yeah.
Ilkay, thank you so much for your time. I've really enjoyed speaking to you, and
Thank you, guys.
good luck for the season.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you much.
The unbeatable official Manchester City podcast. Watch the full video version of this show via City Plus now.